So I watched the Devil May Cry anime and I think it's a masterpiece. Well, a lot of people didn't like it because, well, another character got more screen time than Dante. Well, you know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of Devil May Cry 4, where people were bitching about the fact that Nero got more screen time than Dante. But for me, I liked it because it was a cool game. I had cool characters and I could do cool shit in it, and I absolutely loved it. But they did the same thing in the anime with another character, and now suddenly everyone hates it. Now, if you don't know, Devil May Cry 4 is universally hated for some reason because of the fact that people think that it was unfinished in their eyes. But hell, I loved it, I played it, and I loved every single moment of it. Yes, we got to fight the same bosses as Nero and as Dante, but for me, it was a different experience because I was playing with a different player who had like different abilities and stuff like that. Now, I don't think Dante was overshadowed as much as he was in the Devil May Cry 4 video game, but for some reason, people are gonna hate anything and everything nowadays. So, we all know that Netflix has this habit of turning people into gay characters, and that was not the case in this video game. So, for this video game anime, so props to them for not ruining it. And apart from that, people had issues with lady swearing. Well, I kind of agree that lady could have had like a little less screen time, but then again, who cares? It was a good anime, and episode 5 was amazing animation wise. And I think they did a pretty good, solid work with the villain because Devil May Cry doesn't really have memorable villains. I mean, in Devil May Cry 5, when Virgil was defeated, we kind of didn't really have any villain. We got this anti hero who became like a good guy in the end, and I realized that we didn't really have a good villain in that game either. So, Devil May Cry source material wise isn't perfect. And I'm saying this as a player of the games, and I'm saying this because it is one of my favorite games. So, what is Devil May Cry? Well, basically, you have this dude who can perform cool moves, and you're like this hybrid demon, human, child, or whatever. Basically, it's a cool video game, and people love it. It doesn't really have a super deep story. So, from that perspective, I think what the director and the writer for that anime did was quite good, and it was challenging for retconning the entire thing and creating like a new anime, new story for it. And they could have made it a lot worse, in my opinion, but whatever they did, it was good, it was enjoyable, and I love the fact that there was callbacks to a lot of the iconic songs. Yes, they did not use the original songs, I know, blah blah blah, but they did kind of threw me back to those moments when I played those games, when I heard those tracks playing in the anime. So that was a pretty good job. And I love that Virgil had his theme song playing whenever he came to the screen. That was a very good attention to detail. Plus, we saw a lot of the villains return in the anime as well. And there was lots of Easter eggs in this anime as well as Easter eggs to other Capcom stuff. So for me, I loved it. I don't really see a lot of complaints. I love Dante's design. I didn't like the Devil May Cry 2007 anime because I don't know, there was barely any characters in it, and I don't really remember the plot. I remember that there was this little girl that Dante used to help, but I remember the plot of this new anime clearly because the villain is well written and the entire thing was a good watch when you're binging. But I don't think that was the case with the previous anime. So whatever, if someone had to like rewrite the story of Devil May Cry and turn it into like a anime series or whatever, I think this is the right way to do it. And for me, it's a 8 out of 10, especially for the callbacks and the music and the character designs and the actions, blah, blah, blah. And also, I think that the Nero Angelo design looks better now, because in the previous game, the Nero Angelo stuff didn't really quite make sense to me because Virgil was dead, but then he was mind controlled, and then Virgil was back to life somehow. So there are a lot of plot holes in the game as well. So I'm saying that it wasn't a perfect story, but they made it, and it's a good anime, and I hope they continue to improve on whatever they're making in the further seasons. Thank you for watching.